broken clock on the back wall, counting down till the last bell rings. You lock the door with the plastic smile, say this is just our little secret thing. Ink stains on my test paper, your hand leaning where it shouldn't be. You twist the rules like a gold ring, say it's love, say it's meant to be. Leave the kids alone, you're not a savior, you're a thief of home. Predator in school clothes, life in a cage is a place you go. See ya, Chomo, see ya, Chomo. We need justice, not a whisper, sorry, go. Leave the kids alone, leave the kids alone. You hide behind a chalk halo, fake men are on a crooked throne. They call you ma'am, they call you sir, you use that power, strip us to the bone. Female face, male face, same crime, same cold eyes when the door clicks shut. Courtroom shrug, they were almost grown. Light little sentence, deep little cut. Leave the kids alone, you're not a savior, you're a thief of home. Predator in school clothes, life in a cage is a place you go. See ya, Chomo, see ya, Chomo. Need justice, not a whisper, sorry, go. Judge with a tired handshake, gave her falls like it's half awake. You get years, we can count on hands. We get scars, we can't understand. Names on a list, they move you towns. Paper walls, you still prowl around. Kids in rows like loaded guns. You pull the trigger, then you run. Leave the kids alone, you're not a savior, you're a thief of home. Predator in school clothes, life in a cage is a place you go. See ya, Chomo, see ya, Chomo. We need justice, not a whisper, sorry, go. Leave the kids alone, leave the kids alone, leave the kids alone.
A Brainerd man has been sentenced to 12 years in prison after being found guilty of sexually assaulting a child over the course of several months. In December of 2025, 47-year-old Daniel Scott Roll was found guilty of 2 counts of first-degree felony criminal sexual conduct and 2 counts of second-degree felony criminal sexual conduct. He was sentenced on February 17th. According to the criminal complaint in the case, the sexual abuse involved multiple acts committed over an extended period of time, starting in October of 2022 when the victim was 13 and ending in July of 2023 when the victim was 14. Roll will also have to pay more than $2,500 in fines and have to register as a predatory offender.
Lakeland News is a nonprofit news organization. Donate to Lakeland PBS today to support your local news team.
We're going to start putting a new segment out here on the hit list. We're going to call it Dumb Pedos. And it's going to show where we prove that having a criminal mind just doesn't necessarily mean that you have a functioning one. Today we're going to head to Warren County, Iowa to meet a man named Gregory Saxton. Now, Gregory had a dream. He wanted to wear the badge. He wanted to be a deputy. He wanted to serve and protect. Mostly protect his own ego, apparently. So Gregory goes into the Warren County Sheriff's Office for a pre-employment polygraph test. It's standard procedure. Now, for those of you who hadn't applied to a job in law enforcement, they usually ask things like, hey, have you ever stolen a Snickers bar or snuck some money out of your mom's purse, anything like that? Well, Gregory decided to treat the polygraph like a Catholic confession after 3 double espressos. The examiner asked the standard questions about past behavior, and Gregory, well, he decided it's his perfect moment for some total transparency. He looks the interviewer in the eye and casually admits that he's been viewing child sexual abuse material. Imagine being that interviewer. You're sitting there, got your pen in your hand, you're expecting him to admit that, he drove 60 to 55 once or twice. Well, instead, he drops a felony confession on a table like he's ordering a side of fries. So, Mr. Saxon, any history of illegal drug use? No, sir, but while we're on the subject, I do have a massive collection of illegal images on my phone. Does the department offer dental? Needless to say, the interviewer didn't end with a, well, we'll call you. It ended with a, turn around and put your hands behind your back. The police didn't even have to do detective work. He did the investigation, the interrogation, and the confession all during the hiring process. He literally walked into a building full of cops and said, "Hey guys, I'm a criminal. Can I have a gun and a pension?" Well, Gregory was arrested right then and there. He wanted to be a part of the Warren County Sheriff's Office, and technically he got his wish. He's currently a resident in the jail. Gregory, buddy, next time you want a career change, maybe just stick to LinkedIn. Or, just stop being a pedo.
Shame on you. Can you give back that child's innocence that was taken away that you organized? No. It has a price. It has a value.
Well, today, a Beaumont woman has been sentenced to 10 years in prison after a judge ruled she organized a sexual exploitation of a child. 23-year-old Tori Morgan was sentenced after a Jefferson County judge denied a request for probation. Court records say Morgan promoted prostitution involving a minor at a Beaumont hotel in March of 2025. The judge calling the crime devastating, saying adults will be held accountable when children are harmed.
Now let's get you to a 9 News alert. A 19-year-old is behind bars and is accused of sharing child pornography. The Ouachita Parish Sheriff's Office and the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force worked together to arrest Corbin Cooper at his home in Calhoun. Cooper was arrested on 34 counts of pornography involving juveniles. The arrest follows a months-long investigation prompted by an online tip. OPSO says more charges are possible.
In Danville, a former juvenile detention home employee was arrested for indecent liberties with a child. Wendy Warren was arrested Monday after a near 2-week investigation at W.W. Moore Jr. Juvenile Detention Home. She's being held at the Danville City Jail without bond.
Turning now to a safety alert, a local doctor arrested and facing child porn charges. Local 10's Samir Nefsi joins us live outside the hospital where he worked with the disturbing details. Samir.
And Nicole, that 61-year-old anesthesiologist is no longer here at Broward Health North, rather behind bars in Broward County at the jail there. He's accused of accumulating child pornography over 7 years. This is the Broward County anesthesiologist accused of obtaining more than 100 files of child pornography.
I do find probable cause for all 11 of the stated charges.
David Rarico appearing in bond court Friday morning facing a slew of charges related to child pornography.
Recommending a $10,000 bond on each count should he post bond pre-trial release of the GPS monitor level 2.
According to arrest documents, Yahoo Incorporated flagged Rarico's email last month, reporting it to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. From there, investigators linking the doctor to Broward Health North in Pompano Beach. Earlier this month, detectives uncovering 122 files containing child pornography, depicting sexual acts with girls between the ages of 8 to 13 years old. This all unfolding between March of 2017 through August of 2024. The doctor also linking himself to the crime by signing off with his name. A spokesperson for Broward Health releasing a statement writing in part, quote, "We were dismayed to learn that an anesthesiologist provided to our system by a third-party contractor has been arrested. Upon learning the nature of the charges, we immediately notified his employer that the physician's privileges were revoked and that he is not permitted on any of our properties." All right, and of those nearly a dozen charges Rarico faces, majority of those are possession of child pornography. We know his bond was set at $110,000. If he bonds out, he's not permitted to have any contact with minors, stay off the internet, and will be placed on a GPS monitor. That's the very latest. We're live in Pompano Beach. I'm Samir Nafsi, Local 10 News.
Over to Pennsylvania. We've got a man who was sentenced to 15 years in prison for traveling to Oshkosh and recording himself sexually abusing a child. Prosecutors say Zachary Vogt, a 20-year-old of Westchester, Pennsylvania, began corresponding online with a minor in Oshkosh in October of 24. The exchanges between the two quickly became sexual in nature. The child's parents discovered the online activity and warned the child and Vogt that all interactions must cease. Vogt ignored that warning, and in June of last year, despite knowing the child was underage, Vogt traveled from Pennsylvania to Wisconsin to engage in sexual activity with the child. He sexually abused the child and recorded the abuse on his cell phone. Law enforcement subsequently recovered those images, and Vogt was arrested immediately. At his sentencing, U.S. District Court Judge Byron B. Conway noted the incredibly serious nature of the offense and highlighted that the defendant had been warned to cease contact with the child. Conway cited the need to deter others from enticing children online and to protect the public from online sexual predators like Vogt. This chomo.
A Davenport man is facing 15 felony charges related to child sexual abuse materials. According to court records, 26-year-old Devin Chelsky is charged with 15 counts of first offense purchases or possession of child sex abuse materials. Records say an investigation began with a tip from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. That investigation reportedly led to officials finding 130 pictures and videos. He has a preliminary hearing on March 3rd.
A Santa Fe man will spend nearly 4 decades behind bars for repeatedly sexually assaulting a minor. 34-year-old Frankie Marquez was convicted and sentenced for sexually assaulting the 8-year-old daughter of a colleague. According to court documents, the victim told her mom about the abuse in 2021 and told investigators that Marquez first started assaulting her on her 8th birthday. Earlier this week, Marquez was sentenced to 36 years in prison.
This morning, a Guadalupe County man will now spend the rest of his life in prison after being convicted and sentenced as a child sexual predator.
The Comal County District Attorney's Office took a week to handle the trial with multiple cases involving underage girls and child pornography for more than 20 years. KENS 5's Earl Stoudemire joins us live now. And Earl, this guy already convicted sex offender before this recent trial. So, boy, the judge let him have it.
Audrey Berry, Comal County Judge Bruce Boyer told 42-year-old Jared Kirkus of Marion the circumstances he heard behind every charge were disgusting. Now, Kirkus, he had 19 convictions in this trial for child trafficking, child pornography, sexual assault of a child, and online solicitation of a minor, among other charges. The latest investigation began in 2023 when a mother reported to Comal County deputies her daughter got in a car with a man she was talking with on Snapchat. In the investigation, detectives learned Kirkus falsely portrayed himself as an orthodontist, meeting the girl on multiple occasions. He would even film some of the encounters to post online. In an interview with detectives, Kirkus admitted he was attracted to children and that he had sent hundreds of explicit images to girls on social media. In the punishment phase of trial, the jury learned Kirkus was already convicted in 2005 in Bexar County for sexual assault, solicitation of a minor, and child pornography. SAPD officers testified how they caught Kirkus trying to lure undercover cops impersonating a mother and 13-year-old girl. Another victim in the 2005 case also testified how she was assaulted by him as a child. Kirkus also admitted to not registering as a sex offender to investigators because he said that it was a hassle. Now, Kirkus is going to have to serve 14 life sentences on top of 100 years in prison. Reporting live, Earl Stoudemire, KENS 5.
In Cook County, a Gainesville man is in jail on child sexual abuse charges. Valley View police say they got a tip about Stephen Stewart shot with arrows last month and arrested him Friday following an investigation. He's being held on charges of child grooming, child porn, and sexual abuse of a child charge.
A Fremont firefighter facing child pornography charges has been indicted on dozens of new charges for crimes spanning more than a decade. 37-year-old Brandon Mosier was indicted in Ashland County this month on 34 additional charges stemming from the child pornography investigation. The newest charges stem from alleged incidents that span from May of 2013 to December of 2024. Mosier had already been indicted in August of 2025 for pandering obscenity involving a minor. After learning of his initial charge in August 2025, Fremont officials said they were placing Mosier on administrative leave.
New tonight, a soldier from Fort Eustis has been slapped with a 10-year sentence for crimes against a child. 32-year-old Brady Fat was convicted of using social media to entice underage girls. Authorities say Fat received sexually graphic images and videos of the victims and sent graphic images and videos of himself to at least one victim. An other than honorable discharge from the United States Army is currently pending.
Christopher Don Parker, a 38-year-old of Oneida, was sentenced to life in prison for the first-degree rape and 15 years for sexual abuse of a child under 12. The sentence was imposed under Alabama. Christopher Don Parker, a 38-year-old of Oneida, was sentenced to life in prison for the first-degree rape and 15 years for sexual abuse of a child under the age of 12. The sentence was imposed under Alabama's Habitual Offender Act, citing Parker's 2 prior felony convictions. The bravery shown by this child in coming forward made this conviction possible. The message here is clear. If you harm a child, we will find you, we will prosecute you, and we will seek the strongest sentence allowed by law, because there is no excuse and no tolerance for crimes against children. This defendant abused the trust of adults, and he preyed on innocent children, and the sentence here ensures that he will no longer have the opportunity to ever harm another child. Parker was convicted by a Blount County jury in November of 25. He'd been arrested in June of 22 after authorities received reports that he sexually abused 2 children under 12 at a residence on County Highway 42. Evidence presented at trial showed that Parker frequently visited the children's home and often used drugs with their parents, and spent nights over at the residence while he attacked one victim after another in their sleep. See ya, Chomo.
Now to news just into the newsroom. A 30-year-old man is behind bars after a Yorktown child's mother found out that he was in an online relationship with her daughter. Officers found that Brandon Keister sent sexually explicit photos of himself to a minor. He was tracked down in Pennsylvania after moving there from Arizona. He was arrested and charged with using communications equipment to facilitate crimes with children and production of child pornography. He's currently being held in the Virginia Peninsula Regional Jail.
He's a predator. He needs to get out of the school district.
Frustration tonight after another teacher at CCSD is arrested for alleged sex crimes involving a student. This is 8 News Now at 11. I'm Denise Valdez.
And I'm Brian Loftus. That teacher from Las Vegas High School among 3 other teachers arrested recently. 8 News Now reporter Aaron Ariano live in the newsroom with concerns, Aaron, from the community on how these educators get hired.
That's right. Today, Metro Police arrested 36-year-old Jordan Boucher, a music teacher at Las Vegas High School. According to police, he's facing 6 counts of engaging in a sex act with a student.
If you get caught doing this, you don't belong in this state.
Rudy Perez says his grandchildren attend CCSD schools. He tells me he's disgusted with the news of Boucher's arrest.
You don't belong in the city. You don't belong in the school district. We need to get rid of these people.
In a message to families, the principal of Las Vegas High School says they're cooperating with Metro Police and safety remains the #1 priority for students. According to state records, Boucher was first licensed as a substitute teacher in 2019 and first listed as a music teacher in 2020. 2021. That same year, Clark County School District awarded him the New Educator of the Year award. Jaden Morris is a senior at Las Vegas High.
It's great to how, as years go on, it seems like it's more and more predatory activities. Weird. I'm starting to notice that.
Boucher is the third teacher arrested on sex-related charges in the last several weeks. 48-year-old Brian Conway and 35-year-old Anthony Caulfield were indicted by grand juries between December and February. In a message to parents, the principal says all candidates for employment undergo a comprehensive criminal background check before they're hired. Perez says it feels like more needs to be done.
Come on. We're supposed to have the best school district here in Las Vegas, and look at what happened. They're hiring anybody, and that's not right.
We asked if Boucher was still an employee after his arrest today. CCSD did not answer that question. It's not clear when he was removed from the school. Reporting live in the newsroom, Aaron Ariano, 8 News Now.
Now, police are concerned there may be more victims. If anyone knows about any additional information about these crimes, you are asked to please call Crime Stoppers, 702-385-5555. You can remain anonymous.
New tonight, a soldier from Fort Eustis has been slapped with a 10-year sentence for crimes against a child. 32-year-old Brady Fatt was convicted of using social media to entice underage girls. Authorities say Fatt received sexually graphic images and videos of the victims and sent graphic images and videos of himself to at least one victim. And other than honorable discharge from the United States Army is currently pending.
A man is arrested for child sex crimes following an investigation that began in 2023. Lauren Jones was arrested in Sedgwick County on a warrant out of Dickinson County. He's booked on multiple counts of child exploitation. The Dickinson County Sheriff's Office says it received a tip from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children about a case that began 3 years ago.
That breaking news often confirms this man charged with sexually assaulting a child is a member of the Air Force. They say 30-year-old Austin Lyle is a member of the 1st Airborne Command and Control Squadron. We're told the 95th Wing leadership is closely monitoring all aspects of the situation as local law enforcement investigates. Police arrested Lyle February 18th for first-degree sexual assault of a child. He's currently in jail on a $1 million bond. He's also not allowed any contact with anyone 18 or younger.
All right, we've got Timu Robbie Benson here. Well, his real name is Rafael Prado from Texas, East Palo Alto City. He pled not guilty to 5 felony charges for lewd acts with a minor and felony possession of child sexual abuse material. This case has drawn significant public attention due to the high bond amount, it's $1 million, which a judge maintained during a motion for his release. Prosecutors allege the seriousness and violent nature of the crimes, combined with the evidence found, justified the high bail amount to ensure community safety while the legal proceedings continued. The situation has sparked local controversy following a formal character reference submitted to the court by the East Palo Alto City Council member, Carlos Romero, and he supported a motion to release Prado from jail pending trial. While Romero's letter was intended to speak to Prado's character and history within the community, it has faced criticism from everybody in the whole city there. So guess what? You got $1 million, chomo.
A 13-year-old Southern California girl is safe tonight after authorities say she was groomed online and lured away from home by an 18-year-old man from Pennsylvania. She met that man on a Discord chat group. Matthew Edward Fisher is accused of flying cross-country and holding the teen in a Castaic motel room where prosecutors say she was physically assaulted.
KTLA's Jennifer McGraw is live in downtown LA with more on this case and the growing online danger authorities say is putting teens at risk. Hi, Jennifer.
Yeah, Sam and John, good evening. Just a word of warning to our viewers. The details in this story are very disturbing. We're told that the mother alerted authorities that this was happening, and they say it was an emergency and an urgent situation to rescue her. It was a relationship built over a gaming app that quickly became sadistic, leading a local 13-year-old girl to often cutting herself, then ultimately leaving behind a suicide note and ending up in a motel room with an 18-year-old predator hanging on to life.
The victim told law enforcement that he had engaged in sexual conduct with her and that he used a knife to repeatedly cut her and that he also choked her to the point where she couldn't speak.
The messaging started back in December. That's when the girl met 20-year-old Matthew Fleischer online. Her mother never knew about the secret relationship until her daughter wound up in the hospital for self-harming. She searched the girl's phone, and to her horror, she found messages like these.
I like how the blood looks on skin. I think blades are hot, and I like the idea someone is doing something like that for me.
And another?
You can go as deep or shallow as you want. Victim responds, I just want to be the best for you.
This is a group called NVE. According to law enforcement, it's called nihilistic violent extremism. It's an increasingly growing ideology to motivate vulnerable children to harm themselves and a subculture that glorifies violence and mass killings.
NVE, one of the most twisted and disturbing ideas to crawl out of the internet.
Two notable cases. The 2014 Isla Vista mass murderer. Police say a man who loathed women, fueled by frustration over his virginity. And the more recent one, the man who was trying to blow up a Palm Springs fertility clinic.
These are very despondent young males, particularly. They have a very negative view on the world, and they want to bring society down.
Officials say this disturbing case must be a warning.
Well, not your big platforms that we all know, but the lesser known ones. So Discord is one of the main ones, and it's a gaming platform. But that's how they're communicating with one another.
If this doesn't send a strong message to all the parents that you need to make sure you understand what your children are doing, nothing would. The only thing more tragic would be is if we were reporting her death.
Fleischer faces 30 years in prison. Also, the FBI says there could be more victims. So anybody out there with any information should call them. They say they are investigating hundreds of cases. Live in downtown Los Angeles, back to you in Hollywood.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us for the news at 6. I'm Gabriella Johnson. We begin our newscast with updates across the valley, starting in Alabama, where a Lee County man is behind bars tonight. He's charged with sexually abusing a child and producing child pornography. 33-year-old Quintavis Phillips of Notasulga faces 16 felony counts, including child sexual abuse, child pornography, and first-degree sodomy. The case began January 29th after a DHR employee reported suspected abuse involving a child in Lochapoka. Phillips is in the Lee County Detention Center without bond, awaiting an Aniah's Law hearing.
New this morning, a man has been arrested on child pornography charges in Bourbon County. According to state police, 56-year-old Gary Baker was arrested last week after an undercover internet investigation in Paris. State police say in addition to child pornography, Baker is also charged with sodomy. According to court records, he's scheduled for an arraignment tomorrow afternoon at 1.
Investigators arrest a registered sex offender in an undercover child exploitation investigation started back in November. Fremont County, Iowa Sheriff's Office says a 47-year-old Brian Elliott Dady of Omaha engaged in sexually explicit communication online with an undercover officer pretending to be a 13-year-old girl. Investigators say Dady requested nude photos and videos, sent an obscene image of himself, coordinated a meeting in Hamburg, Iowa to have sex with the girl, and offered to get a hotel room with her. Dady was arrested on January 23rd by the Nebraska State Patrol and then extradited to Iowa on Wednesday. He's charged with 3 felonies, including sexual exploitation of a minor.
Identities of 2 people who are behind bars after attempting to kidnap a 3-year-old from a Bryan restaurant yesterday morning just before noon. Yesterday, Alex Walton walked into a restaurant and grabbed a child who was seated at a table with several of the child's family members. The family members said they did not recognize Walton. Walton then ran outside the restaurant, tripped and fell, dropping the child and injuring her. Walton got up, picked up the girl, and before handing her to his cousin, Ariel Lewis, who is the girl's biological mother. Customers and staff jumped into action, stopping Walton and Lewis from fleeing the scene and getting the child back to her paternal grandmother. According to the arrest report, Lewis did not know her cousin Walton was in the restaurant and claimed she went to the restaurant after someone had said her daughter was there. Both Walton and Lewis have been charged with attempted kidnapping, and Walton was also charged with injury to a child.
Missouri man is behind bars in West Virginia, facing serious charges involving a teenage girl. 38-year-old William Lee Santos was arrested after a month-long investigation by local and federal authorities. Police say Santos met a 16-year-old female on social media and began a sexual relationship. Detectives allege Santos would pick up the juvenile in Williamstown and travel to Marietta, where they engaged in sexual activities. He was arrested in Oklahoma on February 5th after the U.S. Marshals Service assisted in locating him. Santos is charged with 11 counts of distribution and exhibiting sexually explicit child pornography and 1 count of soliciting a minor. He was extradited to West Virginia on February 17th. Santos was arraigned and his bond was set at $450,000 in Wood County Magistrate Court. He remains in the North Central Regional Jail after failing to post bond. Additional charges may be filed in Marietta.
Authorities in Wisconsin say the former Amro alderman who entered a guilty plea for a child sexual abuse charge is now officially sentenced to 66 months in prison. Wish it was years, right? According to a release from the U.S. Attorney's Office, 44-year-old Jason A. Reeves from Amro was the subject of a cyber tip from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children back in 2005. While executing a search warrant at Reeves' home, numerous videos and images of child sexual abuse material were found, which Reeves was said to have received via various platforms on the internet. He was arrested following the results of the search warrant. Reeves was serving as an alderman for the city of Amro and resigned from his position following his arrest. He entered his guilty plea to a receipt of child sexual abuse material charges back in November of last year. U.S. District Judge sentenced Reeves to 66 months in prison during a court hearing on February 20th, citing the serious nature of the offenses that he had committed. Even though this offender never had direct contact with any of the children abused in the images he accessed, his conduct directly caused long-lasting severe harm to those kids. Because every time someone accesses, views, or downloads child sexual abuse material, they are directly contributing to a worldwide industry that is profiting off the ongoing sexual abuse of children. Anyone who does this belongs in prison, no matter who they are.
Rantoul man has been sentenced to 200 years in prison for distributing child pornography. 24-year-old Garrett Moore was arrested in November of last year, pleaded guilty to those charges. 2 separate Central Illinois police departments, the Fairbury and El Paso police departments, they both took him into custody. In a release, police say he was in communication with several minors and made arrangements to meet these children for sexual purposes. Moore was also accused of sending multiple videos depicting child pornography. The victims range in age of 3 to 13 years old.
More breaking news coming into the Gulf Coast newsroom. Charlotte County deputies arrested a Port Charlotte man accused of possessing child pornography. Charlotte County Sheriff's Office says Tampa police were investigating this man, Ashton Bogard, on December 21st. The same day, online service provider Kik became aware of child porn transmission. After continuing to investigate, deputies arrested him on April 24th. He's since bonded out, but was arrested again in Tampa and is now being held without bond.
Hours after pleading guilty to child sex crimes this morning, a Beaumont woman also pled guilty to murder. Lacey Christian appeared in court in handcuffs this morning before Judge Stevens. She pled guilty to aggravated sexual assault of a child, a first-degree felony. Now, under a plea agreement, the judge sentenced her to 12 years in prison and ordered her to register as a sex offender. A separate indecency with the child charge was dismissed as part of that plea. Now, shortly after that, she pled guilty in the shooting death of Russell Rito. Now, under the plea agreement, she faces no less than 5 years and no more than 40 years in prison. As part of that deal, another murder charge in the death of against Lonnie Dean Scott was dismissed. The judge ordered a pre-sentencing report before deciding punishment. Sentencing is scheduled for March 30th.
Shockwaves in the Bristol school system tonight after word a school employee is facing child porn charges. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Mark Sinney.
And hi everyone, I'm Erin Connolly. That paraeducator is no longer working in the school system, but this investigation was actually happening for months while he was still working with children.
Channel 3's Amanda Callahan is your reporter outside Bristol Eastern with brand new details tonight.
Aaron and Mark, Bristol superintendent told me that she did not learn of this investigation until today, and once she did, that para was immediately let go. Now, Bristol police said this has been an investigation since last fall, and while that might seem like a long time for this para to still be employed in the school system, police say they can't give information out about an investigation prematurely.
I'm very disheartened by this whole situation.
That's crazy to me. That just seems so absurd.
Bristol residents shocked to hear a man working as a paraeducator in a special education program was arrested early Tuesday morning for possession of child sexual abuse material. 25-year-old Jacob Senek worked at Destinations Academy. It's a special ed program for grades K through 8 that's run out of Bristol Eastern High School. Acting Superintendent Iris White sent out a message to families on Tuesday saying the district is cooperating with law enforcement and Senek was immediately relieved of all duties. The message goes on to say the safety of students is the district's top priority. And quote, "My hope is that these horrific allegations will not cast a shadow over the important work carried out by our teachers and staff members who provide an outstanding education and safe environment for our students every day." Senek's arrest stemmed from an investigation by the Bristol Police Criminal Investigation Division that started in the fall of 2024 when the department got a tip that a Bristol resident had graphic videos of children. Some residents say Senek should have been removed from the school much sooner.
I have a sister who's special needs, and if that happened to my sister, I'd be very, very upset. So wake up, Bristol. You got to do what you got to do, and this guy should have been removed long ago. Even if you were investigating, you should have removed him.
Others concerned he was working with a vulnerable population of students.
I think it's appalling, to be honest. That's so concerning that he's working with not only young children, but also children who really can't fend for themselves, can't really speak for themselves.
Now, Senek was arraigned this morning. It's not clear if he posted bond. Now, both the school district and police are asking if anyone has any concerns to contact them. Your reporter in Bristol, Amanda Callahan, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.
In a landmark judgment, a special court has sentenced a couple from Uttar Pradesh to death for sexual offences against 33 children, including some of them who are around 3 years of age. Now, while giving this landmark judgment, the court categorized it as a rarest of rare crime. The convicts, Ran Bhavan, a junior engineer in the irrigation department, as well as his wife, Durgavati, were found guilty under multiple provisions of the Indian Penal Code, the POCSO Act, and the Information Technology Act. They include unnatural offences, aggravated penetrative sexual offences, as well as other sections of the Indian Penal Code.
Down to Florida. A Miami County man was arrested on child sexual abuse material charges after a months-long investigation. On February 18th, Miami County Sheriff's detectives executed a search warrant on a vehicle. And of course, while they had the chomo pulled over, they had other policemen over there at his house checking that out, searching it. Happened to be in a 2000 block of Pemberton Road in the village of Lara. The search warrants were the culmination of a several-month-long investigation involving child sexual abuse material. Laptop computers and other electronic evidence were seized during the search warrant, and detectives also learned that cameras, they were found hidden in the residence that were recording everybody in the bathroom and in the bedrooms. Deputies took 27-year-old McCabe Deal of Lara into custody with no incident. Deal was then booked into the Miami County Jail and charged with 7 counts of pandering sexually oriented matter involving a minor. The investigation remains ongoing, of course. Lots of details to go through. The Miami County Sheriff's Office is asking for help from the public, as there is suspicion that, of course, there's more victims.
In Pennsylvania is facing hundreds of felony sex crime charges after police uncovered a sextortion scheme targeting children and young teens. 18-year-old Zachariah Myers was arrested Friday and does remain in police custody this morning. Investigators say he used social media, including TikTok and Snapchat, to lure children into communicating with him and tricked them into sending him compromising photos and videos. So far, investigators have interviewed 30 underage boys and identified at least 21 victims. Myers does face 300 felony counts, including trafficking minors and sexual extortion. And that disturbing case really putting the spotlight back on the rise of sextortion cases involving minors. National News Desk's Angela Brown joining us right now with a warning from law enforcement, really coming from local and the federal levels as well, Angela. And this is just frightening. This is happening so often now.
Absolutely. When you get into the details of that Pennsylvania case, they're just so disturbing. But I started going through it just across the country. All the warnings that have been coming out, we're talking about in the last few weeks, from local officials to federal officials. Let's start in Indiana, where Lawrenceburg police issued a warning on Facebook saying that they are seeing several reports of sextortion in the last couple of days. This was last week, and all of these cases involving minor kids. We're talking about kids under 18. Police telling our reporters on the ground there in that state that there were 2 cases in a 2-week span, not to mention the other ones from a few months ago. And then you had last December, the Wisconsin DOJ, they're now releasing PSAs in order to help parents talk to kids because it's become so widespread.
Parents need to know that they need to have a talk with their children. They need to have a plan in place. They need to tell their child that it's okay if they come to them.
Well, these local cases are coming just a few days after a new federal alert that just dropped a few days ago. The FBI's Kansas City field office issued a nationwide warning saying that sextortion cases involving minors are going up at a rapid rate. Now, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children says reports of financial sextortion, we're talking about kids, nearly tripled in just 1 year, jumping from around 10,700 cases in 2022 to more than 26,000 in 2023. And we're talking about children, in many cases, being targeted by adults, and these kids are under the age of 18, being asked to share explicit images.
Yeah, it is disgusting.
It
Angela,
is.
thank you very much.
A San Jose special education worker has been arrested after his colleague allegedly found inappropriate photos of children on his flash drive. Police took him into custody at Chandler Tripp School in San Jose, and he appeared in court just hours ago. Investigative reporter Candace Wynn was there.
Yeah, Jess, Kirk McFarland faces 1 felony count of possession of child pornography. This incident report here I read through today, it reveals disturbing allegations. Now, this is McFarland at his arraignment this afternoon. We did not hear him enter a plea. According to the incident report, McFarland was arrested on Monday at Chandler Tripp School on Thornton Way, where he's worked for about a month overseeing 1 nonverbal special needs child. Deputies say he has worked with kids for about 20 years, and before Chandler Tripp School, he worked at Delmar High School, also in San Jose. Investigators say on Monday, just this week, McFarland asked a colleague to help him print something. When that colleague opened his flash drive, she told police she saw a picture of partially naked children. A deputy looked at that same flash drive and reported seeing more photos of young boys and girls, some shirtless and blindfolded with their hands bound behind their backs or against a wall. Investigators say none of the photographed children were students at Chandler Tripp School. Now, the incident report states McFarland admitted he had been downloading explicit photos for about 3 to 5 years and that the images and sometimes videos he watched helped calm him. Deputies say he told them he has hundreds of downloaded and screenshotted photos, describing his own collection as, quote, obsessive. McFarland's public defender had no comment when I tried to speak with him today. As a special education worker, McFarland is employed by the Santa Clara County Office of Education. Transparent California shows him employed by that office as far back as 2016. The county office told me in this case there's no evidence indicating any of their students were pictured in the photos. Candace Wen, NBC Bay Area, we investigate.
Okay, thank you very much, Candace.
A mayor near Mansfield is in hot water. An underage girl accuses him of spying on her by going into her bedroom and rummaging through her underwear. Our Harry Boomer has more details from the Richland County Sheriff's Office. Harry, this is disturbing and very bizarre.
To say the least, Nicole. The young girl says she noticed that some of her clothes had been moved. That made her suspicious, so she placed a hidden camera to confirm what she thought was happening. After viewing the video, the Richland County Department of Children's Services was contacted, and that started the ball rolling. This is Mayor Wesley Dingus of Butler, Ohio, a town of fewer than 1,000 people near Mansfield. Dingus is facing 2 counts of voyeurism after he was allegedly caught on camera sniffing a teen girl's underwear. I went to Butler and spoke with the chief of police, Eric Winbickler, who wouldn't say much.
It's basically that the village council is aware of the
incident and the charges, and they're going to be discussing it here, undetermined date, but sooner than later.
He referred me to the Richland County Sheriff's Office.
We'll be more than happy to give you all the information that we have for the public records request, but at this point, we think the report speaks for itself.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll be glad to receive that. The report states that the victim placed a hidden camera in her bedroom after suspecting Dingus had been in there before when she wasn't home. She said video showed that he picked up 2 pairs of her underwear and smelled them for several seconds. Dingus was in court this morning. He was released on a $10,000 bond.
Butler's a relatively small town, so everybody knows everybody. So I'm sure you know the mayor.
Yes.
Just in terms of just disappointed or what? I mean, you know.
I wish I was in a position to say, but I can't. I'm in a position where innocent until proven guilty. I'm in a position where I have to uphold the law here.
Again, Mayor Wesley Dingus was charged with 2 counts of voyeurism, 1 for each time he was allegedly caught on tape. In Richland County, I'm Harry Boomer, 19 News.
Hi, Tyler, thanks. Good to see authorities up there in Whitfield County doing their work and getting folks off the streets who attempt to engage children, as they say, for the purposes of engaging in sexual acts. We do have the mugshots of some of those who were arrested. Take a look. They range in age from their 50s and into their 20s. Whether or not these individuals co-conspired together, we just don't know. Investigators really haven't gone deeply into the details, but these are the men who were taken into custody up in Whitfield County, accused of enticing children for sexual purposes.
In May of 2025, the Shasta County Sheriff's Office Major Crimes Unit began an investigation into allegations of sexual assault involving a minor. The initial call for service identified Brad Lee Chase, age 79, of Reading, as the alleged perpetrator. Detectives conducted an investigation which revealed that Chase had engaged in sexual acts with a child under the age of 14. During an interview, the juvenile victim disclosed multiple incidents of sexual assault by Chase. Further investigation identified a separate case where Chase's son, Christopher Lee Brent Chase, age 40, of Reading, was suspected to have been in possession of child sexual abuse material, or CSAM. As a result of both investigations, felony arrest warrants were issued for Chase and Brent Chase, as well as a search warrant for their residence located on the 9,000 block of Irish Creek Lane. On September 3, 2025, Chase and Brent Chase were arrested without incident and booked into the Shasta County Jail for the following charges. Brad Lee Chase for 288A1 PC, lewd and lascivious acts with a minor. Christopher Lee Brent Chase, 311.11A PC, possession of child sexual abuse material.
Over to Georgia. A South Georgia teacher was arrested and charged with child molestation, which law enforcement officials said involved a juvenile student at the high school, according to a release from the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. According to that release, Danielle Weaver, a 29-year-old, was arrested by the Leesburg Police Department on Wednesday. The release said that Weaver, a teacher at Lee County High School, had been under investigation by the Leesburg Police Department since February 3rd, at the request of the high school itself. The police department called in the GBI on February 4th and asked them to investigate due to allegations of inappropriate contact between a teacher and a student there at the school. The GBI said they continued the investigation and then on February 17th obtained warrants for Weaver's arrest, and she was detained the next day. She was booked into the Lee County Jail, where she is currently awaiting court proceedings. See ya, Chomat.
Been arrested for failure to report an address change. 57-year-old Arthur Goulet was arrested by Pitt County deputies on Saturday. Now, he is accused of failing to report his new address within 3 business days to the Pitt County Sheriff's Office as required. Now, warrants say he lived at an apartment complex on Dexter Street, which is within 1,000 feet of Little Sunshine's Learning Center on Country Club Drive. Now, he was convicted of second-degree sex offense in Pender County in 2014. He was in jail for 15 years, according to the registry. Now, he was charged with failing to register as a sex offender and sex offender residence violation. He was booked into the Pitt County Jail under a $100,000 bond.
You're a registered sex offender, are you not? Yeah? So why are you here meeting little girls if you're a registered sex offender? You are free to go whenever you want, but I just want to let you know that what you're doing is pretty fucked up, and if you just walk away from me, the whole world's going to think you're a monster. If you get no excuse, this video of you is going all over the internet. Your friends, your family, everybody's going to see what you did here. So if you just walk away, everybody's going to think you're a monster if they don't have your side of the story. So do you want to tell your side of the story, or do you just want to walk away? Okay, have a good day, sir. The police will be contacting you. This is Kevin. He is 35 years old from Saginaw, Michigan. Came to meet a 14-year-old girl for sex. This is why we always need to monitor our children's devices.
New at 4, a Tallahassee man is now serving 25 years in prison in connection to a child pornography case. Court documents show in 2024, Richard Allen Spivey uploaded child porn online when sending it to another user through private messaging. An investigation revealed the 62-year-old was also in contact with the children that he was sharing videos of. Spivey is sentenced to 25 years in prison for distribution and receipt of child pornography. Court records show he also is expected to be on supervised release for life.
Lufkin, Texas. A former teacher was sentenced to decades in prison for bestiality, possession of child sexual abuse material, as well as sexual contact with a child after video evidence was found on her phone. This is 34-year-old Hillary Danielle Williams. She was arrested alongside with her boyfriend in June of last year after a young child responded to them touching them inappropriately in February. According to the Texas scorecard. The child also accused Williams of practicing witchcraft and said that the teacher said things that made the child afraid to sleep at night. Yeah, she's a teacher. Authorities said they found sexually explicit images and videos on Williams' phone and her boyfriend's phone as well that depicted an elementary school-aged child and a video of Williams performing a sexual act on a male dog. The Texas scorecard reported that Williams taught junior high school as well as high school math in the Wells Independent School District from 2024 until she resigned because of these charges in February. Williams was sentenced to 20 years in prison on Tuesday after pleading guilty to bestiality, possession with intent to promote child sexual abuse material, and indecency with a child through sexual contact.
An Osceola County school custodian is under arrest accused of having hundreds of pictures and videos of child pornography.
St. Cloud police say they are still reviewing his devices. West 2's Spencer Tracy is joining us live from the school where he worked. And Spencer, police believe there could be more victims out there.
There could be, and the police are still trying to figure that out. They said they're also still looking at Mark Hardin's devices. Now, we confirmed from the school district that he's been working here since 2009, that he actually resigned from his custodian position yesterday. And we also know that this all came about when they got a tip back in August. Now, the school district says Hardin was hired back in 2009 and worked at Zenith Accelerated Learning Academy in Kissimmee. Detectives with St. Cloud's Internet Crimes Against Children did a search warrant at his home this week. That's where they say they found electronic devices containing over 200 images and videos showing child sexual abuse. Hardin is facing 12 felony counts. Now, we spoke with St. Cloud's police chief saying this case is not only disturbing, but still ongoing.
Here's a person who clearly penetrated into our school districts, right? So not only is he doing this thing at home, but now you also have somebody that's in a school district that's working inside of a school.
Now, the school principal also alerted parents and staff about this custodian's arrest and sent out a statement in quote, "This individual is no longer employed at Zenith or with the Osceola School District. At this time, we have not informed that any of our students were involved or affected." Now, we know that Hardin is being held at the Osceola County Jail on a $26,000 bond. St. Cloud police say they are still looking for any possible victims, and if you know anything, you're asked to give them a call. Of course, once we learn more about this investigation, we'll bring it to you on air and online. I'm covering Osceola County live in Kissimmee. Spencer Tracy, West 2 News.
Now at 1:30, a serial child molester may be released from prison after spending decades behind bars at a state facility in Chino. There is growing backlash this afternoon to the state parole board's decision.
KTLA's Chip Yost joins us live in Chino with more on the reaction and what could happen in the coming days. Hi, Chip.
Yeah, hey there, guys. You know, this guy we're talking about is the poster child of why parents tell their kids not to talk to strangers. This guy would use things like candy and Barbie dolls to lure these kids in. Now, I want to warn you, in this story, we don't get into graphic detail, but we are going to give some examples, or you'll hear some examples of what he did, and that could be upsetting to you or to small children, so I want to warn you that is coming. The guy we're talking about, he's currently housed at the state prison here in Chino, but he was recently granted parole, and as you might imagine, a lot of people are upset about that. David Funston was arrested and convicted back in the 1990s. Now, 64 years old, his crimes are still the stuff of nightmares.
So David Funston was probably the worst child sexual predator case I've ever seen or ever prosecuted, not just because of the number of victims, but because of the crimes that he committed. So these were stranger, oftentimes kidnappings, where he abducted children as young as 4. The oldest child was 7. One of them he took up to the mountains and committed horrific sexual assault against that child. Ultimately, he also not only sexually assaulted this child, but he also beat her, and he stuffed her underwear down her throat because she was screaming so much.
Anne Marie Schubert was the prosecutor on his case and says his sentence was appropriately harsh.
He got a sentence of 3 life terms plus 20 years. And he was expected to die in prison.
But state prison records show Funston was recently granted parole under the state's elderly parole program, a law which allows some inmates to have parole hearings earlier than they would otherwise. Schubert says Funston's case is an example of why that law needs to change.
I think this is going to not only be an impetus to try to stop his release, but an impetus to try to change the law that sex offenders should be excluded from elderly parole.
Now, from the records we can see, it looks like Funston is still in the prison here. He has not been released on parole just yet. In the meantime, the former prosecutor you heard from there said she has written a letter to the State Department of Corrections asking that he be screened to be put in the Sexually Violent Predator Program. That is a program where after you serve your time in state prison, you can be committed against your will to a state hospital if you are deemed a sexually violent predator. She thinks he is, and that should happen, and he should be put in a state hospital if he's going to be released from here. Meanwhile, other people still very upset about this. The folks up in Sacramento, this crime happened in Sacramento, some of them having a news conference right now. We should have more of that for you a little later, but as soon as we get the latest on his status here and when he might be released, we will let you know. For now, reporting here in Chino, I'm Chip Yost, KTLA 5 News.
A local child therapist is arrested for child pornography, but police say he managed to escape the U.S. Today, Fox 13 Seattle is looking at how the suspect slipped through the cracks so easily.
The details we're uncovering are frustrating and concerning. Fox 13's A.J. Janival reports what went wrong from the airport.
Documents that I obtained show law enforcement stopped that suspect, Yu Shongling, for a brief moment here at the airport, but those records show Port of Seattle police let the accused child sexual exploiter go due to confusion over red tape. Port of Seattle police was on scene and declined detention of the subject due to a lack of a warrant. A one-sentence answer as to why a man accused of peddling in the misery of sexually abused children is now free.
We believe that they absolutely could have arrested him, and we were under the belief that they would have.
because they didn't need a warrant.
Probable cause documents I obtained show 26-year-old Yushan Ling, who went by Bruce, worked as a family and child therapist. According to the documents, Ling was employed with Valley City's Behavior Health Care. Ling claimed in that role he collaborated with schools, DCYF, CPS, and Seattle Children's Hospital.
Extremely disturbing allegations.
Police discovered dozens of images of child pornography in a computer file alongside a file for his cover letter for an application to Seattle Children's Hospital.
That's just so awful when you read the details in those court documents.
Ling bonded out of jail with possibly as little as $7,500 out of his own pocket. He then somehow acquired an illegal passport, and despite Homeland Security flagging his planned escape and King County Sheriff notifying the Port of Seattle Police to make an arrest, which documents say they agreed to do, officers at the airport let Ling board a flight to China.
What he could have been arrested on were two things. One is attempted bail jumping for trying to board that flight. The other is not following court orders by getting that passport and trying to get on the flight.
I spoke to officials with the Port of Seattle Police Department who tell me they have to have probable cause or a warrant to make an arrest. They say they're not sure if they had that at the time of this incident. Reporting here at SeaTac Airport, I'm AJ Janiville, Fox 13 News.
Tyler Ball of Wynn was sentenced to 8 years in federal prison after he pleaded guilty to possessing child sexual abuse material. In addition to prison time, a judge sentenced Ball to 5 years supervised release. There is no parole in the federal system, meaning Ball will serve all 8 years of his sentence.
Details here this evening. We now know an upstate man we told you about last month is part of a massive FBI operation to track down child sexual predators.
In April, Fox Carolina broke you the news that David Wells, this man on your screen who's from Anderson, is facing some new federal charges. It's in connection with an international child pornography investigation. Wells is currently serving a state sentence for criminal sexual conduct with a minor. But court records we uncovered say law enforcement in the United Kingdom discovered a video of Wells committing child sexual abuse during a separate investigation. Today, the FBI announcing his new charges are part of Operation Restore Justice. FBI officials say his arrest, it's one of nearly 400 made just last month. Agents saying in part, quote, the subjects arrested in this operation included those in positions of public trust, law enforcement, members of the military, and teachers. Others are your neighbors, proving criminal activity can be found even in the most familiar places. Now, if you suspect a crime's been committed against a child, the FBI says contact local law enforcement right away. You can also submit tips online. You'll find a link for that on our website right now, foxcarolina.com.
And Fox 40 Cedric Good joining us live at 5 with why law enforcement says that he should still be behind bars. Cedric.
Yeah, good evening, Nikki, Eric. Sheriff Jim Cooper says that this is devastating both for the victims and the families. Now, this man, they're calling him a monster. He was convicted on kidnapping and sexually assaulting children as young as 3 years old. And now with California's elderly parole program, he is now eligible for release. A parole board has granted early release to 64-year-old David Allen Funston. In 1999, he was sentenced to 3 consecutive life terms, plus 20 years after being convicted of kidnapping and sexually assaulting over 5 children under the age of 7.
7 girls, 1 boy. You know what? They were amazing. They told great stories about what happened in detail. Described the doll he gave them, the candy, the car, what the bed in his apartment looked like, the sheets on his bed. Those kids were amazing, that young.
Investigators say the crimes date back to the mid-1990s.
Probably thousands of pages, arrest reports on Mr. Funston and the cases he did. And take us back to 1995. He was out preying on children in the Sacramento area. We're talking children as young as 3 to the age of 7.
Cooper says when Funston was sentenced, he believed he would spend the rest of his life in prison.
And in California, it's battle after battle when it comes to our children. A few years ago, we're fighting human trafficking of a child. That wasn't a violent felony. Had to fight to get it passed. They got it passed. Now we're dealing with mental health aversion. You can kill your 1-year-old infant and get your record expunged and go work with other kids. What in the hell is going on in California?
California's elderly parole program allows inmates who are 50 or older and have served at least 20 years to be considered for release.
He was sentenced to almost or a little over 90 years. He's done less than a third of that, and he's going to be on the streets. 9 victims under the age of 7, and he does under 30 years. And now he's going to be on the streets in a neighborhood near you.
Under Sheriff Zegler also warned about broader impacts of the policy. 1/3
of our current child abuse suspects will be eligible for parole as soon as they turn 50. And they're not this monster, but some of them are.
For one of Funston's victims, the decision reopens old wounds.
I'm a victim of David Allen Funton. I feel he is a very horrible person who has done horrific acts, and he does not deserve freedom. Why I say this is this man has took innocence from myself and others. He does not deserve freedom. He does not need to be back in public society. He is a criminal, child molester, dangerous, and deserves to spend the rest of his life behind bars.
Now, the sheriff's office say they don't know a release date or where he is going to be released, but they will be notifying the public as soon as they get that information. In the meantime, Sheriff Jim Cooper wants the community to know when you go out and vote this election season to think about this case. Live in Sacramento, covering local news that matters. Cedric Hood, Fox 40 News.
Cedric, thank you.
Over to Alabama. A 37-year-old man was arrested in Huntsville on February 23rd on multiple child sexual abuse charges. The Huntsville police report that Jordan Elliott Barnes allegedly engaged in inappropriate contact with 2 young children while visiting a family friend's home during the holidays. Investigators say that the Special Victims Unit began looking into the allegations on January 26th, about a month before the arrest. Investigators gathered evidence and obtained warrants charging Barnes with first-degree sexual abuse by forceful compulsion, second-degree sodomy, and sexual abuse of a child under 12 by fondling. Barnes was arrested and booked into the Madison County Jail and is being held there with no bond until further court proceedings. See ya, Chomo.
Broken clock on the back wall, counting down till the last bell rings. You lock the door with the plastic smile, say this is just our little secret thing.